Hi, guys, and welcome to another episode of Bellamy Blake Protection Pod. I am April. I'm going to be your host, obviously, and I'm super excited to just share in all the joy and the happiness and the excitedness of finally having our show back on the air. First things first, though, as some of you may know from following me on Tumblr, I got my hair cut into the bob in honor of our show premiering again on Wednesday the 1st. And then I remembered that it was Black History Month and I wanted to emphasize my presence in the African diaspora. So I got these box braids and I'm in love with them. So that's why my hair is a little bit different right now. So let's get into this. I'm actually going to be watching the premiere again while I do this video for you guys so I can make sure that my thoughts are like right on top of what's happening and you're getting an actual reaction from me. So here we go. The first thing that is on my screen right now, because I already fast forwarded, is Octavia scaling down the side of the Polis tower. I hate the way it's pronounced. I always want to pronounce it Polis because of Annapolis, but that doesn't make any sense because it's after Polaris. Um, but she's scaling down the side of the Polis Tower, and it looks like she's actually trying to escape. And I haven't really seen anybody make a comment on that yet. I think it's interesting though, because obviously, right after she leaves the throne room, after she's killed Pike, and the only reason that she stays in Polis is apparently because she catches sight of Indra being removed from the cross that Cain took her to be hung on at the end of 316. Um, I wonder, well, I don't wonder. I understand why Indra has inspired such loyalty in Octavia. She is one of the first people to put her in a place where she feels like she belongs, if that makes any sense. Uh, I'm conflicted about this scene where Indra asks Octavia about Pike, mostly because I understand, I remember from watching the premiere, and I don't think a lot of people do, that Indra actually wanted Pike dead. Uh, she did not want to work with him, and the only reason she did was because Murphy convinced her that that was something that needed to happen. So it looks like she is actually okay with Octavia taking her revenge on Pike, especially because she gives her this little small head nod. But I still feel confused about the Pike situation right now. Um, we've got Bellamy and Clark back on the screen. It's beautiful. They're in leadership mode, and I'm in love with it. Uh, I love what I really like about this intro scene with Bellamy and Clark is that you can really see that Clark is on top of Bellamy. Like she knows him. We don't really talk about this a lot, but Clark is very in tune with Bellamy and his thoughts and his feelings. Like you can see Bellamy is looking around the square, looking around like the little market area down at the bottom of Polis. And I thought the very first time that I watched the episode that he was just checking out his surroundings because Bellamy is, always on guard. He's always ready for something to happen, ever vigilant, to quote our favorite Harry Potter Aurora, Mad Eye Moody. But Clark picks up almost immediately on the fact that he's looking for Octavia, and she emphasizes that she can take care of herself. What I like about Bellamy's rejoinder to that is that he's not at all concerned about Octavia taking care of her physical well-being. He knows that, and it's just one more reminder of how far the relationship has grown since they first landed on the earth back when Bellamy was trying to keep her pinned up in the dropship because he didn't believe in her ability to take care of herself and he thought that she needed him to watch her all the time. Um, again, I'm confused about where the narrative is trying to take me when they have Clark say that Octavia won't be charged for murdering Pike, and that everybody will say that Pike had it coming. Obviously, Clark is not in tune with Arcadia and the political system that is happening in there right now. She's very clearly she hasn't been to Arcadia. The last time she was there, everybody was chipped and on their way to Polis, and she was fighting off Emerson and everybody else. All the delinquents were almost dying. So Clark does not have her eye on the the movements in Polis. So while she may think that everybody in Arcadia is thinking the same way that she is, I'm willing to bet that most of them are not, and most of them are not going to be happy at all with Octavia when she comes back. Because let's not forget, Pike did win by majority vote, which means that most of the people in Arcadia agreed with what he was doing. So I wonder about this, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Um, I like that this episode starts off with Bellamy in a leadership position. Like usually, and this isn't to diminish his leadership or diminish Clark's in this episode, because I fully believe that they're both leaders in different ways. Obviously, Clark is more of the strategist. She's more of the politician. Bellamy is definitely more of the implementer, more tactile, so to speak. Head and heart, obviously, that's our metaphor for them. Um, but this time, it almost seems like they've kind of flipped their roles around a little bit. Like we have Bellamy telling Clark that this is one of my favorite parts, where we get a snarky Bellamy and his horrible jokes in a horrible time. Uh, I like that he goes, I could use a break from keeping you alive. And I really, really like the next line is Clark like thinking about what he's saying. And then she thanks him, you know? That's amazing because Bellamy is often thanked. Well, no, actually, I wouldn't say he is often thanked. Neither was Clark. That kind of happens a lot when you are in a leadership position. People take what you do for them for granted, and so they don't remember to thank you, or even think it's necessary. They think that you know already. I like that when Clark says thank you, it's very obvious that she's not just thinking about one time or one moment or this particular moment when he was protecting her physical form in Polis while she was in the City of Light. I like that this is about every single last time that Bellamy has kept her alive, and you can tell, and it's just so beautiful. Um, um, Sorry, I got caught up in watching that scene. I really like it, guys. I think it's interesting that almost immediately after Clark says thank you, she runs off to go help somebody else. A little bit of dark humor. The show's really good at putting that in various places. Um, what I didn't really like about the scene, or what confused me about this scene, where she runs over to the grounder who's dead with the woman wailing next to him, is that she was so vocal about what happened to this man. Like, I know this man. He was chasing me. Lexa killed her. This isn't a safe environment, Clark. You're in a hostile environment right now. These people are not pleased with you. And you just announced that you're essentially responsible for his death, even though technically it was Lexa who did it. I love that the show did not brush off Lexa's uh her her effect. I couldn't think of the word. I'm sorry. I love that the show didn't brush off Lex's effect, but like they emphasize and drive home that yes, what happened in that city of light was real. These people did die. We had real world consequences because of this. I'm watching the title screen now. Uh, Loving all the new little secret places that we see popping up. Kind of sad that Chelsea and Jared aren't on the title card, but that's fine. I'll be okay. Hopefully later. We're back in Arcadia now, and they're listening to music, and I love this. I am a Minty fan, guys, but this little Murphy moment right here, where they're listening to the music, and Monty kind of looks over his shoulder and gives Harper this really cute smile. Adorable. Everything about them's cute, though. Um, I like the scene with Jasper and Harper where he apologizes. And he can't really say the words, but Harper's like super blunt about it. I think there might be some tension between the two of them, but for now, it looks like they're mending a little bit. Wondering about if we're actually going to see some Raven and Jasper this season, because it kind of seems like we are. I'm not opposed to the relationship at all. They've both been through a tremendous amount of pain. And it might help each other to, it might help them to have someone who has suffered in a way that's similar to them be there with them. I also like that Jasper says that to Raven, you've been through more than anyone, because a lot of the times we discount Raven's pain and we put it, you know, in the background, or when we do talk about it, it's as a reason why the show should be canceled or a reason why the minorities on this show aren't treated well. But she does go through a lot, and all it does is make her stronger. And that's amazing. We've got Jasper making a bad decision and stealing Raven's gun right now, which kind of sucks. And we all know where that's leading if you've already watched the episode. Raven kicks everybody out so she can have some rest and get off her leg. And again, one of the things that I love about Raven is her strength in the face of her pain. She's obviously in a lot of pain, but she's not going to stop trying to get in contact with the people in Polis to make sure that everyone's okay. Um, she doesn't want anybody to think she's weak though, and I wonder if that's going to be part of her journey. Like we know that Clark is going to have to learn to rely on other people this season. Maybe Raven will too. The fade from Raven's face to the like screaming skull situation in Polis is interesting, but I'm not concerned because I do know that Lindsay, when I was at Unity Days this year, Lindsay was late to Unity Days because she had some filming to do, and they were in like 412 at that point, possibly 413, but I want to say 412 for sure. Uh, so yeah, I'm not concerned about Raven, but hmm, the skull is also behind Kane, and I've been wondering about him the entire hiatus for reasons that I will discuss with you guys later. Back to the show. A lot of people didn't like Kane taking some of the blame from Jaha and saying, "What have we done?" as opposed to "What have I done?" But I actually think this is a twofold thing. Like people are saying, "Well, Kane, you didn't really do anything because you were in the City of Light," but so is Jaha. And on top of that, when Jaha came to Arcadia and he was, shoving his chips into people's faces left and right, Kane kind of just brushed him off. Like he was worried about the Pike situation. Abby was the only adult who really investigated what Jaha was doing and thought that it was not on the up and up. So maybe I think Kane is feeling some guilt about the fact that he didn't say anything when Jaha first showed up on the scene with the chips. Abby comes running over, and I think half the reason why she wants Jaha out of sight is because she's concerned about what his presence will do uh, for the relationship with the grounders right now, because obviously things are really tense. You have grounders eyeing them left and right. I think she knows that people might not see Jaha as, a beacon of hope. Might cause some problems, his presence down there. I paused, but I was looking at Abby's face just then when she was looking at Bellamy. Uh, there's some tension there, I think, but not of the bad variety. I think that Abby might still be like a little, maybe she might be a little peeved that Bellamy supported Clark's trip into the City of Light, but I could just be reading something into this facial expression that I caught on the freeze frame. Um, it's interesting that Bellamy says that the Grounders don't want our help. And that they should just leave and take their people back to Arcadia to treat them there. I don't disagree, actually. I don't think the Grounders want anything to do with the Arcadians right now. Although I understand that Abby is a doctor, and so her Hippocratic oath, if they still take that 100 years into the future, is, calling on her to help the people who need her help. Raven comes through on the radio, and the faces that both Kane and Abby make as Clark and Bellamy walk away are interesting to me. At the end of this episode, we know that Kane says the youth will inherit the earth, or the youth have inherited the earth, or something similar to that. And I think that this scene is the beginning of Kane's realization, and Abby's as well, that they are no longer in as much control as they thought they were, especially after the events of 316. I love this moment because I am a huge fan of Ravenlark, and you got all three of them interacting in one episode. I am, yes. I don't think the Princess Mechanic, or I don't want to call it Princess Mechanic anymore. I want to call it something else. But for now, I'll roll with Princess Mechanic. I don't think the Princess Mechanic gets enough interaction. I don't think that Bellamy Braven get enough interaction. I definitely don't think that Braven Law gets enough interaction. So to see them all interacting together, beautiful, and I'm a big fan of it. I like that Raven refuses to divulge any other information until she knows that her friends are okay. Um, I love the little sigh of relief that Raven makes when she hears Clark's voice for the first time. And also, I'm in love with the fact that Clark thanked Raven. Because I think, like, a lot of people say that Clark doesn't get the thanks that she deserves for the things that she does. But I think that Clark turning around and thanking everybody else is going to set up a future where people turn around and thank Clark. So, like, because to tie into that, who's ever thanked Raven for her role in saving her people? Something that she's contributed to for 3 seasons straight now. Season one with the rewiring, even though she had a bullet in her spine. Was it her spine? Yeah, in her spine. Season two with the blowing up of the fans to try to prevent Mount Weather from circling their ear. Season three, when she drew that big old raven on the commander's door so that Clark would know where to go. It's about time that Raven finally gets some thanks for saving her people just as much as Clark and Bellamy have. It seems like Clark has picked up a fluency in Chugga slang. I don't know how to pronounce that. Grounderies that I didn't think that she would have in a month. But then I forget that she also spent 3 months in the wild, probably foraging and hunting like she did with that panther in the beginning of season one, and then trading with Nyla. So she would have to have some type of fluency in the language. Um, because she was the one who informed Abby that they were calling for a healer. I love that Abby is carrying around a little black bag with her, and I don't think anybody's noticed that because nobody's commented on it. But that's like so old school, Dr. Quinn medicine woman, and I am absolutely in love with it. I'm gonna pause here because I don't know how Rowan is still alive. Not that I'm complaining because I love the guy, but he got shot. He was shot in 315 because Bellamy took revenge on him. And sure, they patched him up, but then he gets shot again literally at the beginning of 316. And he's just left there for hours. How is he still alive, guys? Like, this is a question. Anyway, King Rowan is no longer amongst the living. He's a zombie now. I just thought you guys should know. We've got some tension here. Echo is on the scene and she is taking charge. I really like Echo. I know a lot of you guys don't, but she's so easy to hate. Tasha does a really good job playing her. Um, she's in command, she's strong, she's taking no prisoners, even though she technically has Clark as a prisoner right now. She knows what she wants and she will go about achieving it by any means. Um, Bellamy comes around that corner and he is mad. First thing he says is Echo, and you can see that he's walking with a purpose. I like that. It seems like the Sky Crew guards who are still there, they respect him still. Like they don't like they kind of sort of move out of the way to make his passage easier, and he is a man on a mission. Clark already knows what he's thinking, and she tells him to chill out. You know, don't touch her. I mean, don't touch her. Don't try to save me. It'll be okay. And then you've got Kane also helping to hold him back because Kane's been in this situation before when Clark was being, held hostage by an Ice Nation person in season three. That was Rowan. He knows what Bellamy will do to get Clark back. Of course, he's not going to let that happen because that could escalate into some serious problems really fast. But you can see the threat in Bellamy's eyes, and I love it. Like the little index finger, and he's pointing at her. He looks like Bill Clinton. It's beautiful. I actually haven't seen a lot of people commenting on this line that Echo says to Clark right before she releases her. I saw you in the city of light. I know you destroyed it. And then she thanks her. So now we know that Echo was one of the chipped people in mm, sorry. Now we know that Echo was one of the chipped people in the City of Light. And I wonder like if that's a large part of the reason for her hatred of Sky Crew, and also what was so painful in Echo's life that made her want to take the chip, or did she just take it out of loyalty to her Ice Nation commander Antari? Um, she seemed grateful that she was released from the City of Light, which is also something that I wonder about because most people don't seem to be too pleased that they're free. So maybe that's part of her vendetta against Sky Crew, the fact that she blames them for this technology being brought down and being accessible and maybe trapping her in the City of Light, a place that she wasn't happy. Very interesting, and I hope that they build on that train of thought as the season goes on. This ambassador lady, but I know she's not long for this earth because not a lot of people seem to be able to challenge Echo and get away with it. There seem to be a lot of intricacies in grounder law that we see every time we meet new grounders, especially in Polis, and I'm a huge fan of it. And I'm sorry, it's just such a cool moment. Like nothing Echo does is uh, gratuitous. She does nothing for the sake of doing it. Um, huh. She's not a huge fan of the Arcadians, and the look that she gave Clark when she walked away, pretty tense. Again, here comes Bellamy with the jokes at bad times. Looks like saving the world would have to wait. Can he please take a break from his ridiculousness at any point in time? So the first, I think that was the first 13 minutes of the episode are really good, really tense. I love that we pick up right where we left off. I love that they don't waste any time getting us back into the flow of things. I really like the relationship that they're building between Bellamy and Clark right now. And I am a Bellard shipper, but I do mean this in a non shipper way. I've always loved their leadership. I've always loved their friendship. I think it's a big part of what makes them who they are, and why they fit so well together. And to see them finally emphasize the equality, in my opinion, between the two as leaders, even though they're leaders in different ways, is pretty good. And I didn't actually expect to see it happen, especially because I know that Bellamy will still have some things to deal with in terms of what happened the last time he was in a semi leadership position, as and Clark will too. So I'm excited to see where this takes them on their trip, waiting for the commercials to end because I'm watching this on CWC so that they can get the views, and I can't fast forward through it. I want all of my views to count. I've watched it about 5 times now, and I love it every time. So what you guys can do while I'm just sitting here having this conversation with me by myself is put down some questions and suggestions for things that you would like to see different for the next podcast. Um, Even though this is a video, I'm calling it a podcast because Bellamy Blake Protection Pod is the name, and I am casting myself at you through this screen. So things that you like me to see, things that you would like to see me do differently, things that you would like me to talk about more next time. If you want to, I can start doing a section where you send in a question either at the bottom of in the comment section on this video, or you can send it to my Tumblr, which is Bellamy Blake's Protection Squad 2K17. And make sure that you note that it's for the show, and I will get back with you and answer the questions here. I think that would be fun. I want to feel like I'm having a conversation with you guys. We've got Jaha working in what I believe is a form of penance, and a lady is holding what has to be an infant, very small, and that's devastating to me. First of all, how did the infant even take the chip? Because that chip was relatively large. Oh wait, it dissolves. I forgot. And the woman spits on Jaha, which is, I feel bad for Jaha because he didn't intend for this to happen. He really thought that he was saving people. He thought he was saving his people. Murphy was interesting to me in the conversation that he had with Jaha. He doesn't trust him, obviously, with good reason. Mori, my baby, my poor girl. She doesn't feel safe right now. She isn't. She apparently she's forbidden to actually be in Polis because of her disfigurement, which is really sad. It's also good to know the reason why she took the chip in the first place was because she wanted to find John again. She wanted to find. You see that switch that I did? He was Murphy when he was talking to Jaha, but when he's with the Moore, he's John, and I think that's fitting. It's exactly what Louisa and Richard said they do. So maybe that's why I picked it up at that Murphy feels like he only belongs in Arcadia because the people owe him something now. But I love that Amori agrees to come back with him, and I love the smile that that puts on John's face. He's like really happy, but I like that they're still like their typical thieves at heart sales, so picking up leftover scraps off of the deceased. They're not gonna stop being who they are, and I love it. Sneaking out through Titus's little chamber. And I wonder, they can't have enough rovers for all of these people, so they must be walking back to Arcadia. Because in the beginning of this episode, Bellamy or Clark says that the rover is in like the northwest section or whatever. Um, so obviously everybody else is just gonna have to walk up. So get to it, guys. See you on the other side. I love the parallel that happens right here. It's beautiful. Somebody has made a gift set of it. I can't remember who on Tumblr, and it's so gorgeous. Where you have Abby checking on Kane's crucifixion wound because that's what it is, and she's worried about him, and you know he doesn't hesitate to comfort her. I love Clark's face when she sees his moment because, she knows that her mother has struggled. She knows that her mother has suffered. Um, Especially if you want to take into account that the scene where Abby wakes up from the City of Light and is sobbing into Clark's arms just happened like a few hours ago. So it must be so good to see her mother finally happy, as happy as you can be in these circumstances, or even just to have somebody who she knows that her mom can lean on and rely on. I love the scene of Indra and Marcus reuniting. I love the way he looks at her. He's trying to find the words to say. He's trying to find something to make this situation better, and she doesn't need to hear it. And that's friendship, guys. And it almost made me cry the first time that I watched it because it just means a lot to me. I love their relationship. I like that Bellamy comes back and he immediately knows that Clark's not gonna like his news. Again, these two can read each other so well, and it's just so nice to see it. Geta is humongous. There were 1,000 warriors inside the City of Light when Clark took it down. 1,000. And you know that's not every single last Asgata person alive. It's not even possible. And now all of Asgata wants to kill the Arcadians, and they're not in a good place. Indra knows that she has connections with Rockline, Flow Crew, which that's Luna's clan, Flow Crew. So interesting. And Broadleaf and Tree Crew, but that's only four. And four entire clans, still not enough to fight against Asgata. So that just goes to emphasize how large the tribe is. Amazing. People are saying that Clark says no about handing over the flame when Indra requested because she has a plan in mind. But I don't think Clark had a plan. I just think that Clark knew she wasn't ready to hand it over. Again, we have to remember that she just left the City of Light a few hours ago. Lexa is still fresh in her head, and this is the last piece of her that she has. I don't blame her. She's an 18-year-old girl. She's grieving. She just lost the woman she loved, which is really hard. And it's I relate to Clark in that aspect, even though as we all know, I'm not a huge Clark or Alexa fan, but I am a Clark fan, and I relate to the pain that she's feeling and the inability to easily part with something that she still believes is actually Lexa. However, I've talked about this on Tumblr, and I will say it again here. I was not a huge fan of the way the writers wrote this out. Um, the flame is not hers. It's a cultural artifact, and as much as I hate using the term, grounders are coded to be indigenous people. So it rubbed me the wrong way to see and hear a white woman tell one of those indigenous people, particularly one who is actually a woman of color, because Indra's black, obviously, that she would not give her back an artifact that is rightfully hers. Um, it reeks of white saviorness and cultural appropriation, and I was not a fan. Aside, who kept these candles burning? Like, have they just been burning since Titus died? Because there should either have been a fire or these candles should just be piles of wax. So who who did it? I love that Abby can read her daughter. I mean, it's expected. Because obviously before Clark found out that Abby is partially responsible for Jake's death, they had a pretty tight relationship. I love that. I just love the relationship so much, guys. Abby and Clark are super important to me. Um, yeah, I like that she could read her and that she knew that Clark was holding some information back. Love that Clark asks for Bellamy's like reassurance to share this news. Like she's like, are they gonna be okay if I tell them? Should I tell them? Because earlier we discussed this and you said we should keep it to ourselves, but now our people are asking me on what do I do? And he's like, we can trust these people. Let's do it. There's a little bit of discord here. Where Abby asks Clark if she believes what Allie told her about the City of Light, about the radiation and the nuclear meltdown in the City of Light. And Bellamy's response is that Raven is looking into it. Bellamy trusts Raven. Clark, I'm sorry, believes Allie, which is interesting, in my opinion. Very practical, and I love her for it. Even if it is true, Ice Nation's still right outside that door, and they're gonna kill us before those 6 months get here. So we need to think of a plan soon. Is always very sure of herself when she announces a plan. They won't kill us. So why? How do you know that? Because we're going to surrender. You still don't know that, Clark. You know nothing about Asgetta outside of your interactions with Rowan. They could take your surrender, take the blame, and still kill all of you guys. Let's not be too confident. Obviously, nobody knew about this plan, not even Bellamy, which has led some people to think that Clark came up with this entire plan that unfolds across the second half of the episode all by herself. However, I think that she just gave them like the bare bones of the plan. Like, we need to do this in order to survive, and I have XYZ parts of the plans, but how do I actually implement it? And I think that the the full formation of the plan was a group effort. Uh, yeah, I think the full formation of the plan was a group effort. I don't think it was Clark alone, and I'll just leave it at that. I'm interested to see where Octavia's journey goes this season because right now, sorry, the commercial was funny. Right now, she is not anti. She seems to be kind of floating in like this odd space. Like, Octavia always has always said that I don't belong anywhere. I'm not Grounder. I'm not Sky Crew. I'm just me. I'm nobody. But right now, I never really felt that for her until this episode 401. She isn't Grounder. She isn't Arcadia. She doesn't belong to anyone. And I think that it's interesting. Um, to see how lost she feels finally like represented on the screen in a way that makes it easier to see. Um, Overall, I am interested in her journey. I just don't know if they'll manage to fix her Not that she needs to be fixed. I don't know if they'll manage to sway me to uh, her side without certain things. Like I still think she needs to understand that what she did was wrong. I think she needs to apologize, and I'm hoping that that's a scene that we'll get later on in the season. But right now, it hasn't happened yet. I have a piece of pizza right here that I'm going to finish eating because I'm kind of hungry. So sorry. I walked into the healing area with Antari's body. Um, Echo doesn't really seem to have a lot of regard for Antari. Put her with the others. That I don't think that you would put your essentially your queen with like the commoners, so to speak, and that's what Antari was. But yeah, I wonder what that's about. Badass. I'm sorry, guys. Huh. There's spray paint of Asgeta's symbol on the door that they walked out of. So I'm wondering if each clan has their own little like embassy in Polis. Kind of like if you were to go to, well, like, most large cities in the United States, I'm unsure of other countries, obviously, have an embassy for various countries. Like I know in Michigan, in Detroit, we have a Canadian embassy. So I wonder if that's what's happening in Polis. Hmm. So Jaha snuck Octavia in under cover of her being Antari, which is, in my opinion, interesting because Antari and Octavia actually aren't the same size. Abby's worried. Abby's very worried about Octavia, and you can tell she thinks that the violence was not necessary. And I would have to agree with her, especially killing the healer. We don't, we know that Asgard are ruthless, but we don't know that the healer was an actual like physical threat to anyone. So Octavia killing him, I assume, is like our first sign that she's going down the wrong path. And I like that Abby seems concerned about her and that she's recognizing it for what it is, which is possibly problematic. Um, Octavia either doesn't seem to notice that it's wrong because her reaction to Abby staring at her is just, okay, we'll get to healing. Um, so she doesn't know that it's wrong or she doesn't care. She did seem to get a really weird thrill out of it, which is probably why she winds up being an assassin for hire, I guess. She enjoys doing it. Um, and we are back. It's nighttime, and we've got John and Emori walking together. Oh, I love that. That John goes over to the group of people that Amori is nervous about because he sees Bellamy. So obviously, mm, he's making strides toward trusting, trusting at least Bellamy again. I also like the acknowledgement that Bellamy is not an Echo fan from Kane. I know how you feel about her, but you can't lose control. Me handing Murphy his gun, huge moment of trust. Remember the last time this happened where Murphy asked for a gun and Bellamy gave him rocks to bang together? And this time he actually decides that you can have my gun. And we know how Bellamy feels about his guns, guys. That was not a small moment for him. I wonder why John left. He said sorry, but I wonder. And I wonder if we'll talk about that like later on. Bellamy's face when Echo brings up Gina, especially because Gina isn't remembered by name. Octavia is worried about Bellamy. A lot of people are acting like Octavia's concern for Bellamy is like novel and means that she should be forgiven, but he's still her brother. Of course, she loves him, guys. That didn't change because she's angry with him. She doesn't want him to die. So it's harboring a lot of resentment about the city of Light. Also, Rowan should definitely be dead because Abby said that the bullet was cutting off the airflow to his brain, and the brain definitely needs oxygen to survive. And he's been like this for hours because when they found him, it was daytime, and it's definitely night now. So like, come on, guys. That Echo is recognizing Bellamy as a leader. Like she refuses to talk to anybody else. Uh, and not only that, is she Bellamy is speaking for Tree Crew and the Arcadians right now. There's that guilt again for Bellamy participating in the massacre. It's painful to see Bob does like nonverbal communication very well, guys. Interesting that Echo says that no one wants war. I wonder how true that actually is. Because in season 3, she was more than happy to give the queen the war that she wanted. Bellamy ever thought Echo would actually kill him. Interestingly enough, the way he looks at her, he seems pretty certain. Never goes down without a fight. I do love that about her. She was like all of 2 pounds wet, but she's shaking that guy off. A lot of people, I haven't heard anybody talking about this, but when Echo was about to take off Clark's head, you can see Bellamy like struggling in the back. The first time I watched this, I didn't see his facial expression, but it's nice. I still think Echo wants a war. I wonder what the purpose is, though. I don't wonder. I actually think that Echo um, knows that now, with the power gap left by Lex's death, she knows that now is a great time for Asketta to step up and close that gap. But I think that she's nervous, scared, fearful, however you want to put it, about the obvious power that the Arcadians wield as with their technology, their access to technology, which is probably part of the reason why they blew up Mount Weather, to be honest. Um, so I think that she thinks that the only way to ensure that Asgetta actually comes out on top is to get rid of um, the Arcadians and their technology and their superior intelligence because of that technology. I really want to know more about Echo. I know a lot of you guys don't like her, but I think that she's really interesting. I think she has a lot going for her. I still think she's gonna die though. So we're back in Arcadia again, and Marpers just had some fun time. I really like them um, a lot. I think they're adorable. I honestly would probably get tired of the running joke of Raven interrupting them though if they don't stop doing it soon. I hope this is the last time it happens. I like how uncertain Harper was about like their relationship status, and I like how Monty was just as uncertain, and they decided to like soothe those fears together. I think that was cute. Casper is like really, it's real. It's really real. Um, I I want to know what he wrote to Monty, and I wonder if that's something that we'll see. Um, Surrounded himself with Maya, the music and the iPad, the painting being the last thing that he was going to see. I wonder if Jasper would have gone through with it if it hadn't been Monty on the other side of that door. Because he didn't put the gun away until he heard Monty say his name. I'm interested to see where they take Jasper this season. And I don't think that he'll die because he kills himself. But I do still think he's going to leave us this season. Jasper's reaction is really real though. Like the laughter in the face of death for somebody who's depressed and really considering it. Harper looking for her gun to take care of him. She obviously is still wary of Jasper. She has every right to be. He did almost kill her. Um, Rowan's back to his badass self. gonna close his wounds with a burning hot knife, circa episode 302. Okay, Rowan. You have to be so extra. I really believe Echo when she says she's loyal to her clan. I don't know if I believe her when she says she's loyal to her king. Echo thinks that Truco is weak, which is interesting. I don't care what anybody says. I love this crown. It's badass. I also really enjoy the fact that Asgetta's rule is familial, so it just passes down the line, and it doesn't seem to matter who's who. This is such a good scene, the scene between Abby and Clark, where Abby discusses her love for Lexa. Um, a lot of people, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it. Maybe they aren't. I'm just not in the right groups. But when Abby turns around and scoots over to Clark, Octavia is in focus in the frame, and she's looking at them, and then she turns her head away and she fades out. And I'm wondering if this is like I think that we're seeing different layers of grief here for individuals who have lost a loved one. Like when Octavia lost Lincoln, her mother wasn't there to comfort her and tell her that she knows the pain and that she wants to help her. That wasn't a thing for Octavia. So maybe there's a little bit of jealousy in Octavia, or a little bit of sadness in Octavia that that's not a part of her reality. That she won't get her mother um, coming to her to tell her, it's going to be okay. And she'll never be able to have the opportunity because her mother's long gone. Um, I've seen a lot of contention about how could Abby know that Clark loves Lexa because Abby, that's not what she's saying. She's saying, I know. She's comforting her child. It's like a there moment. Um, and you guys have got to stop reading so much into every little thing that happens on the screen. And again, lots of contention about the scene that follows immediately after this, where the camera transitions to Bellamy's face. But like I just said, I think that we're seeing layers of grief in this episode. We've got Octavia in the corner, and she's in focus right before Abby turns to Clark, and they bring up the grief. Octavia is nothing but a walking ball of grief and rage right now. So that time, she's grieving over Lincoln, who she loved. And then we have Clark openly grieving again over Lexa, who she loves. And then you have Kane, who's probably just checking his surroundings, making sure that his people are okay. He's looking over at Bellamy to check on him. And he doesn't expect to see what he sees on his face, so he does a double take. And then the camera finally focuses on Bellamy. And you can bet your ass that Bellamy is thinking about Gina right now. He's thinking about, because Echo just brought Gina up. She's fresh in his mind. So this is empathy that Bellamy is exhibiting in this scene. There's no jealousy right here, and anybody who says otherwise just doesn't know how to read a show. They are coming for Juanita. Echo's so cool, guys. I really love her. Again, we are seeing more of a focus on Bellamy than we see on Abby when it comes to concern for Clark's well-being, something that I think is important. It could just be emphasizing that Bellamy and Echo have a stronger relationship than Abby and Echo, but I think that we're supposed to see this. The point, the focus of concern um, for Clark shifting from Abby to Bellamy as something more. than just this is my co-leader and I'm worried about her. I think that they are very clearly pointing us toward romantic Bel arc, and I am so excited to see it. The scene where Clark is brought into the throne room with the bag over her head, very reminiscent of the end of 302. The bag being torn off, her seeing a crowned individual, this time it's Rowan. So a role reversal for one of the individuals here. Rowan's throne is so sad, guys. They really need to make him another one. Why does it look like this? Ron's obviously still hurt. He's suffering, but he's trying to put on a strong facade. And he's certain that he doesn't need Sky Crew right now. When did Clark become such a history buff? How did she know about Prumvaya? Like, wait, there's so much that we missed out because they just decided not to include it. And so now it makes it seem like Clark just randomly boned up on a whole bunch of Grounder history, which is weird. I still love Rowan's crown. Crown. Blood must have blood. The crowd is shouting it again. This is a serious callback to the last time a ruler decided that blood must not have blood against the will of her people, and she paid for that. Rowan says we were told it was lost when Clark presents the flame to him, but that doesn't make any sense because he knew that Clark had the flame when they came to Polis in 316. So is that a continuity issue or something else? I really need Clark to clean her fingernails. Not to be rude, everybody needs to clean their fingernails. Letting go of the flame was obviously very hard for Clark. She still believes it's Lexa. And Rowan knows that. He acknowledges that you can see it in the way he looks at her. Eldest son of Naya. I really hope we get to see more of Rowan's family, guys. I like that Clark has to swallow when she sees the flame. I love Kenza already, and I probably want to marry her, guys. I can't wait to see more about her. She's obviously a priestess, unless she's secretly a Nightblood, which I would love. An actual woman of color as the commander, give it to me. Um, but anyway, back to Clark swallowing hard when she sees that Rowan is holding up the flame. We see Bellamy look at her, and this is an acknowledgement that he knows how hard it was for her to part with the flame. Again, Bellamy in a position of leadership here. He's the one walking forward to take the emblem from Echo. Clark has on that hideous jacket again in this scene. I hate that coat, guys. It's so ugly. I can't wait until she's back in Arcadia and she can get out of the Grounder gear because I hate all of it. Octavia is snarky. Bellamy doesn't have time for it, and I love that he just tells her to be quiet. I like the hug between Abby and Clark. And this scene between Kane and Bellamy is not Kane being patronizing to Bellamy, guys. You guys really have got to stop overreacting all the time. This scene is very obviously Kane telling Bellamy, this is how I survive. I turn the page. I put the things that I did behind me and I try to start over again. And after a while, if I keep doing this, maybe someday I will feel like I deserve to survive. This is how I've been living, and I'm trying to give that to you too. But anyway, it's a very poignant scene to see both of the Sky parents saying goodbye to their Sky kids. Yes, it is the youth have inherited the earth. Andrew and Octavia standing next to each other. Jaha headed back to Arcadia, probably because it's not safe for him to be in Polis. The ending was beautiful, guys. So here's the question. If this wave of radiation is already sweeping across what's obviously Egypt, how how are we supposed to believe that it's only going to take 6 months for it to reach? That it's going to take 6 months for it to reach Arcadia? This poor woman. It's a pretty dramatic ending. Can't wait to see what they give us next week, guys. Questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, put them down there in the comments box. And I will see you guys right back here next week for episode 402.